Hello everyone and welcome to a very wet Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the penultimate round of the 2018 World, or I don't actually know what WCS League stands for, but WCS League GP Series. Series 3 of the WCS League GP Series, and as you can see, the track is very, very wet in qualifying at the minute. We're just seeing some laps coming in. Sadly, of course, we did miss the last two broadcasts. Apologies for that. They were in Barcelona, Spain, and Spa-Francorchamps. The winners were Laurent Keersmakers, winning both of the first two races, and then Stefan Roel winning race 2 at Barcelona, and Danny van der Neert winning race 2 at Spa. And the championship was claimed. Now, I didn't think it had been, but I've just done some maths and found out that the championship has already been claimed in favour of Stefan Roel. So Stefan Roel, we're announcing it now, is the champion of 2018. Laurent Keersmakers, currently second in the championship. He's lost out due to 3 DNFs earlier in the season, in the early part of the year. One at Suzuka, one at Interlagos, one at Dubai, which could have cost him the championship. But I tell you what, Roel's done a great job. He's been completely dominant for the rest of the year. Well, not exactly completely dominant. He has 6 wins to Keersmakers' 5, but in terms of points, 314 points to 254 to claim the championship early. That's a very, very good tally there. So Stefan Roel for Holland Racing Team is our champion. Now, second in the championship at the minute is Laurent Keersmakers, followed by Danny van der Neert, Antonio Freelinovic, Gerrit de Vries, Jacob Pegg, Matthew Williams, who I don't believe is here, Jonathan Holmes, again, don't believe is here, Mark Fuller and Dan Hutt. Those are the top 10 in this championship. But at the minute, we're focusing on qualifying, and I believe the track is drying. Currently at the top of the order is Stefan Roel. But Danny van der Neert is on a quick lap at the minute. He was fastest of anyone in the first sector, and he's done a pretty quick second sector as well. So the track is definitely getting drier. Those are slick tyres. So the car's obviously on slick tyres at the minute, which is interesting, seeing as I can't see any sort of dry line. But we'll see as he crosses the line. Is that an improvement? Yeah, puts him to the top there. So Danny van der Neert goes to the top of the order with a 131.490. Still quite a lot slower than it would be in the dry. Although behind him, Roel and Freelinovic are both going faster. Freelinovic currently on a lap at the minute, which is a lot faster than the pole time. So Freelinovic definitely on for pole as it is. Actually, I'm not sure if he... I'm not sure... Yeah, he definitely is. He's a matter of seconds up there. Followed by Roel, who appears to also be up as well. Freelinovic just exiting the final corner. This will probably put him provisional pole at the minute. He crosses the line. Yeah, goes first. But have a look at Stefan Roel, who is coming through the final corner, or the final chicane at the minute. Stefan Roel has gone purple in both sectors so far, fastest of anyone. And now as he accelerates down the start-finish straight, Roel goes to the top. There he goes. I expected he would. So the time's still tumbling. It's a 1:28.506. That's almost half a second faster than Freelinovic in second. And Freelinovic in himself over 2 seconds faster than van der Neert. And he's going quicker again. So Freelinovic again. Purple sector, meaning fastest of anyone in sector 1. The track is getting drier and drier. The cars are already on slick tyres, and Antonio Freelinovic is really going for it on this lap. Just needs to make sure he doesn't make any big errors. I'm keeping an eye more on the timing screen here than I am on the track, so if I miss anything, apologies for that. Into the Lapingo hairpin, slight lock-up there. His front right was not moving as he went in, but that's just utter commitment in there. Still late on the brakes, even when it's wet. And it's another purple sector in sector 2. So a quick lap so far from Antonio Freelinovic, blistering. He's in the final sector at the minute, and I expect that pole position here is going to be a matter of whoever crosses the line last gets pole. So it's going to be all about who times it best, and Freelinovic still on intermediate tyres, interestingly. Obviously not going for the slicks yet, and probably wisely, crosses the line and goes to the top. So it seems we're in the stage now where Inters are still the quickest tyres to be on, as Kevin Peters incidentally puts his car third. That's a good lap for the ST driver. Laurent Keersmakers in the Lapingo hairpin. He's going quicker than his personal best. He's in P4 at the minute. We're in that stage where the slick tyres are not the tyres to be on yet, but they are still going quicker. And they might be quickest very shortly. We'll see what Keersmakers can manage on this lap. He's 4th position so far in the final chicane. Runs it out almost towards the wall. What's the lap from Keersmakers? Has he strung together a quick final sector? Still looks like the final sector's pretty wet, but he goes first. So maybe the slick tyres are the tyres to be on at the minute. It's a 1:27.639, which puts him to the top of the orders. But Kevin Peters is going fastest again in first in both the first sectors. So really, it's absolutely unpredictable here. And I've got no idea who is going to take pole position in this session. Very, very entertaining to see. Keersmakers through the final sector now. Past the Wall of Champions, the Quebec Wall. And across the line, and it's going to be, it is P1. So Kevin Peters goes to P1, fastest in all 3 sectors, 1:26.941. Brilliant lap from Peters, but already it's coming under pressure as Stefan Roll goes faster than anyone in the first sector on the dry tyres. Now I see why there are drivers going quicker on the dry tyres, because there is a dry line forming there. So even if the final sector still looks wet, this part of the track still looks pretty dry on the line, even with the spray getting kicked up. I think it looks worse than it actually is. And then again, I wouldn't want to try breaking down into the breaking into the Quebec. Oh, slight wiggle into the Lepingle hairpin in conditions like this. Very easy to lock up a front tyre. What was Roll's second sector? Oh, again, it was quickest of anyone. So Roll again going quickly here. And I don't think Peters is going to get another chance because he's not on a quick lap now. So Roll is properly at an advantage now. What's the lap? He puts the traction down out to the final corner. And it's P1, unsurprisingly. So Stefan Roll goes to P1. And that's with a 1:26.359. Next driver who looks to be challenging, Antonio Frelinovic again. So Frelinovic, fastest of anyone in the first sector so far. I reckon this, again, is going to be a P1 time as he goes through the second sector timing beam. Oh, it's quickest of anyone in that sector as well. Frelinovic putting the power down as he accelerates down the long back straight towards turns 12 and 13, the final 2 corners. There you see Fabian Ruder in the Meyer Downard racing car. He's missed the last couple of rounds, but he's back with us today. Frelinovic through the fast chicane to end the lap, still on the inters. Are the intermediate tyres still quick enough to beat the slick tyres? They look pretty even. And is it first? It's first! Frelinovic takes pole position for now. But Roll is going quicker again. It's going to be a real chase to the line between inters and slicks. It doesn't seem to matter what tyres you're on at the minute. But Stefan Roll, fastest of anyone in both of the first sectors. He too has a car ahead of him. That's Mark Fuller in the ST racing car. Roll down into the final chicane, and he's got it all together. This looks to be pole position for Stefan Roll. The checkered flag is waiting, and as he crosses the line, it is faster. Stefan Roll goes to the top of the order. Can anyone challenge him? Yes, they can. It's a 1:25.360, but Frelinovic is already stringing together another attack. He just about got across the line in time to start another flyer here, so Frelinovic is going to get one more chance at this here as he goes down into the Lepingle hairpin. What was his second sector time? It wasn't very quick, although he was only about a tenth of a second off Roll, having gained about 2 in the first sector. This could still be it for Frelinovic. Maybe his inters are not the tyres to be on at the minute, but he's still putting it together, stringing together the lap through the final chicane. He goes. Needs to put down the traction. Is it faster than Roll? This is going to be such a close one for pole position here. Across the line? No, he doesn't do it. Antonio Frelinovic has to settle for second position there. So close. They were only separated by 0.224 there at the end. And that will almost be it. Gerrit de Vries, incidentally, is still on a lap. He looks to be going quicker, although he only puts his car to 8th position there. So it was quicker, but he didn't move ahead of anyone else, meaning the order is confirmed. Let's go up to the up the front and run through it. So Stefan Roll takes a well-deserved pole on the slick tyres. Very, very brave of him. Antonio Frelinovic is second, followed by Kevin Peters. Good qualifying from him. Jacob Pegg, Lauren Keersmakers, Dan Hutt in 6th, Danny van der Neert, Gerrit de Vries, Sander Palu, Rienk Hoekstra, Jarek Janet, Mark Fuller, and Fabian Ruder round out the field. And interestingly, I've noticed there that no, I didn't notice anything. I'm being silly. Okay, so that's the lot, and our 13 drivers are in position here. The fastest time of all being a 1:25.360 coming in from Stefan Roel in the Holland Racing Team car. A storming lap in tricky conditions. We now return to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve with 1 minute remaining in the warm-up session before we go to the official race session. The drivers will then make their way to the grid, and we will very shortly be underway for our formation lap for the start of this race. So, the championship, as we know, has already been sealed by Stefan Roth, but only by 1 point so far. Of course, it's a big lead in the championship. But if Roa was 1 point back compared to Keersmakers, the championship would still technically be alive at the minute. It would still only be mathematically alive, but still, it would be alive nonetheless. Anyway, still a race to enjoy. It's all about bragging rights now. You know, I beat Stefan Roa, that sort of thing. You know the feeling. Lauren Keersmakers, of course, the winner of 5 of our races so far this year. Royal has won 6 of them. It's just that on the races they didn't win, Royal has scored far more points than Keersmakers, and that's what's given him the championship early. Danny van der Neert, in 3rd place in the championship, has won 3 races, but he missed 2 rounds of this championship, or 2 races rather, 1 round, putting him out of contention. Then, of course, we have Matthew Williams, who only made he only made 6 rounds of this championship. That's 5 actually. He made 5 of our 12 rounds. Although he won 1 of the races. Jonathan Holmes won 1 of his 8 races earlier on this season as well. His 4 rounds. He could have been a real contender for the championship if he continued, but pulled out early, as did Wopke Hoekstra, despite winning actually his last race that he did in Istanbul, and another driver who won 2 races in conditions like this actually was Niels Brugman, who won both of the races at Interlagos, and then Wesley Stefano, who won 1 of the races at Dubai as well. Those are our race winners of this season so far, although also featuring on the podium were several other drivers as well. Still, no win for Antonio Frelenovic. Surely that's going to change in these last couple of races. He is definitely a driver that I would have expected to have won by now, and I'm sure that he will. He'll certainly be hungry for it as the season draws to a close. Of course, he DNF'd at Spa in race 1, and then came back to finish P10 in race 2. Of course, it's always difficult because you don't get the reverse grid if you DNF in race 1. In race 1, sorry, got the hiccups. A total of 37 drivers have participated in this series so far, in terms of at least 1 race. Not many drivers have made the full series, I'm afraid, but we've had 37 drivers making races. And now we're going to the official race session, so the drivers will make their way to the grid. I can see absolutely no option but to go onto the wet tyres at the start of this race. The rain is still pouring down. The track is getting wetter and wetter, and it doesn't appear to be easing anytime soon. This will be absolute wet weather tyre, or wet tyre weather, that's to say. No doubt about it. So 15 seconds until the start of the formation. That's still our leader, Stefan Roth, in the pits there, preparing to go out. Now he does, and he is on. That's not the wet tyre, so taking a real risk there is Roth. Looks like a couple of guys might be doing the same. I was speaking to Gerrit de Vries after the qualifying session. He says the reason people are going for slicks is because the wet tyre is just that bad, and he doesn't know why. It's a lot worse than it was at Suzuka or Interlagos when we had previous wet races. So it's Roth on pole, already showing how slippery it is on this. Oh, and we got 3 people starting from the pit lane, including Antonio Frelenovic. Now what's happened there? I think we might be about to have a server restart or a race restart, because for some reason 3 people, Antonio Frelenovic, Sander Palu and Ryan Hoekstra, have not made it out of the pits, and Frelenovic would have been starting on the front row of the grid. Now, I've seen people in the past, I've seen this server in the past being restarted when a driver can't make it out of the pits, and seeing as 3 drivers can't, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a restart, but otherwise, it's going to be Kevin Peters starting from 2nd on the grid. Well, 3rd grid slot, but 2nd in terms of the actual order. And then it's going to be Jacob Pegg, Laurent Keersmakers, on the slicks there, Dan Hurt, Danny van der Neert, Gerrit de Vries, Sander Paluk from the pits, Ryan Hoekstra from the pits, Jarek Janet, Mark Fuller, and Fabian Ruder bringing up the 13-car field. And it doesn't look as if we are going to get a restart here. So despite 3 people starting from the pits, it looks like that's where they're going to start from. Maybe it was tactical. Maybe they just decided that there's going to be carnage at turn 1 here. It's a difficult turn 1 at the best of times, but in the wet, it could just be carnage. So 3 people possibly tactically starting from the pits. But I'd be surprised about Kralinovic, seeing as he was clear of the rest of the pack anyway. And he would have been ahead of everyone. Maybe he just thought someone was going to miss their braking zone and go into him. Maybe it could prove to be a good decision. We'll have to see. But as the drivers make their way to the grid, Kevin Peters is pulling into the pits. So we've lost another of our big runners here. Kevin Peters is going to start this race from the pit lane. He's pitting for slicks, I think. So Kevin Peters possibly thinks that the slick tyres are the tyres to go on to. He's missed his pit box. That doesn't matter. Oh, it's not allowing him to pit. Because it's before the race start, it's not going to allow him to pit. Now, that's a real issue for Kevin Peters. I don't think he saw that coming. Oh, so we're going to have a really mixed up order at the start here. And 2nd place could end up being Jacob Pegg here. Look at that. That's a very weird sight there. Oh, Peters has made it out onto the grid. Now, how's that happened? I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's just put him out onto the grid. But whatever the case, here come the lights. And we're away. Go, go, go. Stefan Roll leads us away. Kevin Peters gets away in 2nd. The 3 cars starting in the pits get ready to go. But it's Roll leading us into turn 1, followed by Peters, Keersmakers. Who's that off? Jacob Pegg runs wide. Hut has hit De Vries there. De Vries runs off the road. And out of the pit lane stream, Hoekstra, Kralinovic, and Palu as Pegg spins. Oh, Roll's going off. Roll's gone off already on the slick tyres. Well, he's cut straight across the chicane and hasn't lost the position, but a rare mistake there from Stefan Roll. I expected something like that would happen on the slick tyres. It was a risky decision to make, but he's still got the lead of the race now, ahead of Peters and Keersmaker somehow. And then it's Van der Neert and Hut ahead of Fuller. Oh, and Ruder's off there, so Ruder's been off, and many drivers taking it very cautiously. Look how slippery it is. De Vries goes through into 7th. Kralinovic goes through into 8th. Is everyone going to make it through here cleanly? I don't know. Janet and Ruder making contact. They're both into the... Well, they're both spun there. This is a very, very unclean start, I'm afraid. One of the worst I've seen in a long time. As Jarek Janet struggles to get his car running again there. Oh, what a mess. Now, Stefan Roll through the final chicane. Watch Keersmaker's going for 2nd. Not quite getting Peters there. And after the first lap, it's going to be Roll leading. Oh, no, the spin into the wall. No, not quite into the wall, but Keersmaker's has spun from 3rd position. He's dropping down to 5th there. Through goes Dan Hurt. Let's see a replay of that. As, Lauren Keersmaker's he's just going to kind of loop it around here. He went wide, got off the line, got onto the wet patch, and round he went. And had to brake and reverse out of that. And this is what Van der Neert would have seen of that. He just would have seen, well, there we go. And through goes Danny van der Neert. I believe they're on the same team, actually, Van der Neert and Keersmakers, the RaceView.nl team. Indeed they are. Whew, what a first lap. Keersmaker's already back onto the tail of Dan Hurt, who runs slightly wide here. Oh, and De Vries off again there in P6. Struggles to get it back onto the road. Already Kralinovic up into 6th. So a good start from Kralinovic from the pits. Is everyone still running? No, Fabian Ruder, as I say, that just retires from the race. I'm afraid that looked like it was coming from a while. He already had damage at the back of the car from the incident with Jarek Janet. And now he's just looped the car around. That looks like a loss of rear downforce to me. Into the wall he went and out of this race. So Ruder is our first retirement. He barely got any practice time for this race, I'm afraid to say. Only just got back from school before this race. So I'm not really surprised about that, but whatever the case. It's Ruhl leading by a very, very big gap now as Kevin Peters pits. This will be for the slicks. Of course, we saw him intending to do that at the end of the first lap, and then it just teleported him back onto the track again. But Kevin Peters obviously feels that the wet tyres are not the tyre to be on, and I think he's... Well, actually, he didn't miss the box there. Indeed, he has gone onto the slick tyre now. So Kevin Peters showing us that the wet tyre is not the tyre to be on here. I want to quickly have a look back at what happened to Ruhl on that first lap, because he did have a bit of a scary moment into the first of the two chicanes, or the first of the several chicanes, I should say, as he had an off. Here we go. Didn't really need to be pushing at this point. He has so much of an advantage over the rest of the pack, but he just missed his braking and went straight on. Didn't lose the lead there, though, but Kevin Peters will be feeling a bit annoyed behind him. Now it's Ruhl leading from Van der Neert and Hut. Keersmakers and Frelinovic, those are the top 5 here on lap 3 of the race. What tyres is everyone on? Well, Ruhl's on the slicks, Van der Neert's on the slicks, as are Hut, Keersmakers, Frelinovic and Hoekstra. It seems that the wet tyres really are struggling here today, and I'm not sure why, because in any other car this would be severe wet weather territory. But Jacob Pegg is our top wet weather runner in 7th position. Mark Fuller also on the wet tyre, being quickly caught by Kevin Peters. And now at the end of the third lap, it's Ruhl still leading. Van der Neert coming through in 2nd position here. Just looking at the order. Van der Neert ahead of Dan Hurt. Dan Hurt dropping slightly further back from his tail end, but pulling away slightly from Keersmakers as Frelinovic pits. Now I'm very surprised about this, because Frelinovic was on the slick tyre. Now I can't see why he'd be pitting now. What's this going to be all about? He doesn't have any damage. Is this for a stop go? Did he... no, he is going onto the wets. Now that's a bad decision there, because we've seen other drivers thinking that the wet tyres are the wrong tyre to go onto, and the slick tyres are right. So we've seen Kevin Peters pitting from a good position to get off the wet tyres, and Antonio Frelinovic pitting from a good position to get onto them. Peters has been into the pits again. Was that for a drive-through or stop-go maybe? For speeding in the pits, possibly? It's always difficult to... Yeah, that's been a drive-through. So Kevin Peters with a drive-through for, I assume, speeding in the pits. It's always very difficult to slow down for the pit entry when it's as wet as this, or as Keersmakers is all over the back of Dan Hurt. But, yeah, a mistake from Kevin Peters there. I made the same mistake yesterday in the GP Academy race, even though that wasn't wet. But anyway, it's been a very good start for Dan Hurt so far. He's kept it clean and got through into 3rd position. Keersmakers, of course, had that spin at the end of the first lap. Now he's running okay. And he's attacking Dan Hurt for 3rd place, the final podium spot. Into turn 1 they go. Dan Hurt's best result of this championship so far, interestingly, just having a look at the order, are 2 6th places. He got a 6th place in race 2 at Zandvoort, and he got a 6th place in race 1 at Spa. But he's never scored higher than that. So this podium place would be a very big confidence booster for him, I expect. Especially in wet conditions. I might have cursed him there. He's made a slight mistake. He's kept it together nicely, though. And still kept 3rd position there so far. Interestingly, Menno Klont Wopke Hoekstra running in 5th behind him. Now that will be... Oh, there's a spin. Jacob Pegg spun it. So Jacob Pegg from 6th position spins the car around. Gets it going, but loses a place now to Gerrit de Vries. Let's have a look back at that there from on board Jacob Pegg. He's just going to get onto the wet patch, isn't he? Yep, there's the wet patch. Round it goes. So that's an easy mistake to make in these wet conditions. And he lost a place through it. Now, Keersmakers is ahead of Hut. So Keersmakers has got ahead of Hut. But will Hut capitalise on the slipstream here? Well, he's pulling out of the spray. He wants to see where the corner is. Of course, the slipstream isn't effective in the wet conditions. He's lost it into the wall. Hut goes around. So Hut, well, I obviously did curse him there, because he was running very well, and now he's not actually dropped any lower than 4th position, but Dan Hurt has made a mistake. Has he got any damage? I think he's got a slight bit. The car seems to be pulling slightly to the right there, But let's have a look at that. So Dan Hurt for a start. Well, we'll see him getting passed by Keersmakers here. I believe it was down into... It was before Lepingle. It was out of the chicane here. Oh, Hurt made another mistake. He went right wide. He went over the curb. And through went Keersmakers. There he went. Before the Lepingle hairpin. That was all done and dusted. Let's watch that from on board the drivers. So Dan Hurt, you'll see him just getting onto the wet patch, sliding wide over the curb. There he goes. And now he's just going to see Laurent Keersmakers coming through. And there he goes. And for Keersmakers, that would have looked pretty straightforward there. He just needed to keep it on the line, which he did. Hurt made the mistake. Keersmakers got the much better run out of the corner and went through. Then, of course, we had a mistake from Dan Hurt at the chicane. Again, it looked as if he might have just... He didn't really go onto a wet patch. That's just losing it under braking there. Clouted the wall and spun the car around. Got it going again, still in 4th place. He just needs to hold it together now. Make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes. We're heading now towards the same corner where it happened last time. Put your brake balance forwards. There we go. Keeps it nicely through the corner. That's good to see. Further down the order, still 12 drivers running in this race already. Stefan Roll has lapped Jarek Janet there. Just looking through the order. Mark Fuller seems to have only just passed Kevin Peters, and now Peters is dropping a long way back, so I reckon there was an error or something there from Kevin Peters, who's had a torrid time. Of course, he was running 2nd earlier on. Now he's down into 11th position. It's a shame to see, but Kevin Peters not having the best of races so far. Let's watch Stefan Roll through this sector here. He's just lapped Jarek Janet, and he's running away with it in the lead of this race as the dry line is indeed forming. You can see it there, despite the spray still being kicked up behind the cars. Now, there is, of course, a mandatory pit stop in this race. Some drivers have already made one, but I reckon they're all going to have to pit again. So Stefan Roll starting another lap, and again it's raining. Now, the drivers on slicks will be hoping that it doesn't start raining more. The drivers on wets will be hoping that absolutely it does, because the wet tyre seems to be pretty bad in the sort of changeable conditions and the slightly dry conditions. But when it starts raining heavily, of course, the slick tyre runners will have absolutely no control. And Stefan Roll in the lead. This could be drama for him. Who is our top running wet weather runner? It's Antonio Frelenovic. So maybe Frelenovic, who took a real risk going onto that tyre, maybe he can benefit from this. And he's actually in a very good... Oh, Dan Hurt's lost it again. He's spun. He's lost 4th place to Meno Klont Hoekstra. Now, what's happened to Dan Hurt there? It was down into turn... It was out of turn 1. He's got over the curb. And that curb, well, in the wet conditions like this, it just has no grip. It's spun him around. And he's lost 4th place to Meno Klont Hoekstra. They're both fighting over their best results so far. Meno Klont Hoekstra's best result, interestingly, so far has been a 7th place. So he hasn't even got the 6th places that Dan Hurt has had in the past. That was at Istanbul race 2. And now he appears to be on for 4th place. And if someone ahead of him has another mistake, maybe he can even get a podium here. It's all about keeping it clean, just not spinning it around. Stefan Roll being a masterclass of keeping it clean so far. Here are our 2nd and 3rd place drivers, the 2 RaceView.nl drivers, Danny van der Neert and Laurent Keersmakers. Maybe van der Neert slightly bringing in, or maybe Keersmakers slightly bringing in the gap on Keersmakers. Of course, these drivers currently leading the the teams championship rather, not constructors, the teams championship. It's RaceView.nl leading from Holland Racing Team, which has Stefan Roll and Gerrit de Vries. And then Satellite Racing, Enterprise GP, and Just for Fun follow them to make up the top 5 in the championship. 17 teams, interestingly, have raced in this series so far, but not many of them have had 2 drivers in every race. I believe only the top 2 teams have, actually. Oh no, I think Just for Fun did. Lauren Kiersmakers, I believe, definitely pulling in the gap there. Indeed, he's got within a second of his teammate. Maybe the Raceview GP, NLGP cars might switch places here. Also looking at Dan Hurt and Kjerrit de Vries. So Kjerrit catching Dan Hurt here. Hurt's been making a couple of mistakes on the last couple of laps. Needs to make sure he keeps it clean now, but de Vries has gone wide into the hairpin. Oh, and Hut's, just as I say that, Hut and Hoekstra are both spun. Did they make contact there? Yes, they did. So it looks to me like Hoekstra was driving slowly out to the corner. He got off the line. Then he spun in front of Hut. Nothing Hut could have done about that there. That was entirely Rian Hoekstra just spinning up his wheels there. Here it is from onboard Hoekstra. Rear wheels, wet track, slick tyres. Round he goes. And Dan Hurt had absolutely nothing to do with that, except that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And through went Kjerrit de Vries to claim both places up into 4th position there, ahead of Hoekstra and Hurt, who keep it in 4th and 5th, and 6th places. But I tell you what, they're gradually dropping down the order now. Need to stop doing things like that. Here is Rian Hoekstra. Dan Hurt was catching him there before that instant, but it looks like Hurt got off worse there. And he will not be happy at Hoekstra here, even though that sort of thing happens. It was an innocent mistake from Hoekstra, just happened to result in a spin and a collision, which is a shame. So as the rain continues to fall, the drivers continue to lap the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Oh, and Hoekstra's losing it again at the same corner. Hoekstra makes another mistake and Hut's spinning. So Hoekstra looked as if he was looked as if he was about to lose the place to Dan Hurt, but Hut, who could have just kept it on the road and got past there, gets past now by Kralinovic. Remember, Kralinovic on the rain tyres. Now that might well be the tyre to be on at the minute. I also thought de Vries, de Vries ahead had a slight twitch here. Here's his slight woe. Whoa. Goes over the grass on the inside. And then Rian Hoekstra behind just loses it under braking. And goes wide. And Dan Hurt loops it around. Now that's just the drivers on dry tyres being caught out by the wet conditions now. And Hurt again losing it. That's not... Oh dear. Round goes Dan Hurt. Really struggling now on those wet tyres. On those dry tyres. On this wet track. Yeah, just got off the wet, or off the dry patch. In fact, Kralinovic ahead of him actually made a slight mistake of his own there. That's what loops the car back around again. Now, other drivers up the front of the order, okay. Well, Rourke still seems to be in one piece. Van den Eert just behind Jarek Janne. Needs to get past him cleanly. Janne possibly holding him up a bit there, but gets out of the way now. Through goes Van den Eert. I'm expecting the pit stops to start occurring, possibly at the end of this lap, so let's wait to see what happens. De Vries was very slow out of that corner there. He might have had a spin there. Kralinovic goes up the inside, and Kralinovic is flying now on the wet tyres, but he's gone off. Yeah, left his braking too late. And again, Hoekstra spins. So again, Hoekstra makes a mistake, and de Vries is right on him. Remember, de Vries also on the dry weather tyres, so Hoekstra has no excuse here. And de Vries is going to get him down the straight. To the inside he goes. Now they both need to make sure they get their braking right here. Don't leave it too late. You're on the wet patch, de Vries. And Hoekstra, who's on the ideal line there, keeps the position. They're both just ahead of Antonio Kralinovic. Well, this is very, very tense as these drivers are really struggling now in the wet conditions. Hoekstra's had a spin. De Vries is having a spin right now. He's got onto the wet patch and around he goes. It was kind of a half spin, locked up the brakes and through went Kralinovic. It's really pouring it down now. If I was on dry tyres, I'd really be thinking about pitting for wets. But then again, the wet tyres are pretty rubbish when the track starts to dry out. So maybe they're hoping that the rain stops and they can just make this stint last until then. It's all about, if you can control the car, do. because you never know what the weather's going to do, and it's always better not to just jump to something drastic. As Sander Palu comes out of the pits, and Kevin Peters pits now, and I think I see Keersmakers and Van der Neert swapping places. I do. So the two RaceView.NLGP cars have swapped places, and I was expecting that, as Keersmakers seem to be more comfortable in this kind of condition. There was that. Oh, well, actually, Van der Neert made a mistake. So Van der Neert lost control of the car. There he goes, went sideways. Whoa, so nearly hit his teammate. And then just let him go on the corner exit. And quite rightly too. Yeah, Keersmakers had that in the bag. Let's watch that from on board the drivers. That was a hairy one. As Van der Neert loses it under braking. It's so treacherous today. So treacherous. And he just struggles to get the power down offline there. And through goes Keersmakers. Now here's what Keersmakers saw of it. He would probably have been having kittens here. Oh, goodness gracious. That was close. And he also got over a damp patch there, but got the power down quicker. Now, will Stefan Roll pit this lap? No, he didn't. So Roll stays out for another time as Keersmakers goes wide into the hairpin. Gets it under control, gathers it up. Where's Van der Neert? He's dropped a long way behind. Now, will any of these drivers pit on this lap? None of these drivers have pitted yet, remember, and there's a mandatory pit stop still applying. Keersmakers stays out. Van der Neert stays out. Oh, it's getting very close now between Hoekstra and Kralinovic. So Kralinovic's wet tyres are suddenly coming into play. And Hoekstra is going to have to be looking behind him here as they head into the Pingle hairpin. But Kralinovic too far back. Slight wiggle from Hoekstra and he's going off and spins. So through goes Kralinovic. I said he was too far back. That was not counting any mistakes that Hoekstra might make. And he made a pretty big one there into the hairpin. Yeah, there you go. Gets on the wet patch, locks it up, and goes straight on. And then as he turns, the car loops ends on him. Unsurprisingly, that wet tyre, definitely the better one to be on at the minute. And did he pit? No, he didn't. I'm surprised by that, because his tyres will be toast by this point. Only 5 drivers on the lead lap now, so Stefan Roel really running away with this. He's just lapped his teammate, Gerrit de Vries, who pits. So Gerrit de Vries pits on that lap from 6th position. Dan Hutter, Mark Fuller quite close on track here. This is for 6 now. Fuller goes to the outside, leaves his braking later. Does he make the corner? No, he's going to get on the wet patch. He's going to go off. There he goes. Avoid Hurt as you rejoin. Just about. Now give Hurt the place. Hurt deserves that. And he spins. Yeah, into the wall. Saw that coming. Put the power down too quickly and nudged the wall. Here it is from on board Mark Fuller. There he goes. Donk. That was just putting the power down too quickly on the wet part of the track. We all saw that coming. Stefan Roel stayed out for another time. And into the pits comes Lauren Keersmakers. What tyres does he go on to? It's another set of slicks. Wow, people really don't have confidence in the wet tyres because it's pouring it down with rain and the drivers are still going around on slick tyres. Now, did Danny Van der Neert pit on the last lap because he has only just got out ahead of Laurent Keersmakers? In fact, will he get out ahead of Keersmakers? So, no, I don't think he will. So, I do think that Van der Neert pitted the lap before. I just didn't see it. Let me check that. Yeah, that looks like a pit stop to me. So, Danny Van der Neert has already been in. What about Kralinovic? He pitted earlier. Oh, yeah, into the pits now comes Stefan Roel. Now, will he go onto the slicks too? No, he goes onto the wets. So, Stefan Roel. Well, I'm not surprised by that, but I am surprised about Keersmakers. Look at that, he's weaving all over the road. Keersmakers and Van der Neert went onto the slicks. They really don't have any confidence in the wet tyre at all here today. I don't know what it is, but people just don't trust the wet tyre. And Roel has gone onto that, probably as a precautionary technique, because he's got over a minute's lead to anyone. So he needs to make sure that he has the ultimate traction he can have. Just make sure that he doesn't make any silly errors. He needs to get past Mark Fuller cleanly here. Oh, as Dan Hut clobbers the wall. Now Hut looks like he's giving way to Rolt here. He does indeed. And Hut's going to slot through. There's contact. Fuller just about stays ahead there. That was a very cheeky move from Hut, who now seems to be spinning. Yep, Hut spins. From 7th position. Another mistake from Dan Hut. I'm afraid this has been a clumsy race from Hut. He's had the pace, but he's not had the consistency. Donk. Now he just sort of loops around on the curb. So not learning from his mistakes there as he touched the curb in turn 1 earlier and spun it. He's got it going again. Also still in 7th place. Oh no, he's lost 7th to Sander Palu. So Palu goes through into 7th here. Keersmaker's only just ahead of Van der Neert here. As Rian Hoekstra pits. Now what tyres will Rian Hoekstra go on to? I tell you what. It's a very interesting one in terms of the tyres here so far today. Now what tyres will they be? He goes for the slicks, I think. Yes, yeah, stays on the slicks. But it's a long stop. Takes him a little while to get going there. Will he lose a place? Oh, there's Mark Fuller. I think he'll just about keep it here. No, Fuller's coming through turn 2. It's going to be not actually as close as I made it sound. So through goes Mark Fuller into 5th place. Ahead of Rian Hoekstra. Oh, Hoekstra's off. So Hoekstra's missed the pit exit there and gone straight on. And I believe that Fuller's just been lapped. Yes, there's Rolt. So that means only the top 4 drivers are still on the lead lap here. Kralanovic, Van der Neert, Keersmakers and Rolt, who are incidentally also the top 4 in the championship in this order. So the championship being represented well here today. What's Rolt's gap to the car behind? 49, almost 50 seconds here to Keersmakers and Van der Neert. This has been a dominant race so far from Stefan Rolt. Unless something goes drastically wrong, he's got this in the bag. That's why he's gone onto the wet compounded tyre here. Just to make sure he doesn't make any errors. Talking of errors, Keersmakers goes off. And through back into 2nd goes Danny Van der Neert. Let's watch that from onboard Van der Neert as Keersmakers got onto the wet patch. And yeah, that car wasn't slowing down in a month of Sundays or Wednesdays as it is. Here's Keersmakers, gets onto the icy wetness and round he goes onto the grass. He'll be feeling a bit silly about that one, but then again it was a mistake from his teammate that allowed them to be in that order in the first place. So the top 4 no longer in championship order as Kralanovic touches the wall. Oh, that was close. Here we go. Yeah, he's just going to slide wide. There was no stopping that. That was proper aquaplaning there from Antonio Kralanovic. Does well to stop it from being worse. And the car doesn't appear to have much damage. That's good to see. Stefan Rolt keeping it under control. And then it's Van der Neert, Keersmakers, Kralanovic, Fuller. I believe our pit stop stages are over. I believe everyone's pitted now. Then it's Palu, Hoekstra, De Vries. Oh, Jarek Jannik's lost his nose there. There's been a crash in the background. Dan Hut's involved. Now what's happened here is Jarek Jannik's lost his front wing. Going back to check. He's had an incident with Dan Hut. Oh no, that's completely separate actually. So Gerrit De Vries has just got past and then gone off. There goes De Vries sliding straight wide. That was for position actually. So De Vries goes wide, goes over the oh, and Jannik just loses it in front of him. De Vries runs over his front wing. I tell you what, if that front wing had got under his axle, then that would have spun him. But here you see Jannik's view. So De Vries goes off, goes over the sausage curbs, and now Jannik just loses it under acceleration, goes into the wall hard. He was lucky to avoid De Vries, but went in at a very acute angle there. And Dan Hut is going to have a completely separate incident. So 3 separate incidents on that lap there, down into the chicane. It's extremely slippery there. Oh, Hut had a mad ride over the curbs, and he was very lucky not to lose his front wing. Did he get clipped by Peg? No, not quite. And Hut gets it going again in 11th place now, but he's just gaining 10th there as Jarek Jannik, well, still moving slowly without his front wing, as he would be. So Jannik will be pitting at the end of this lap, and he will drop well and truly to last place. Is that Keersmakers I just saw getting sideways? It was. Oh, but Keersmakers is back ahead of Van den Eert. So second place has changed again. Well, there you see the twitch from Laurent Keersmakers. Wow, that was a big one. Got it under control, though. Now, when did Keersmakers get through into second place again? It was earlier in this lap. Oh, well, Van den Eert's made a mistake there. Van den Eert's... so it was getting past Kevin Peters, who's already spun. He gets over the curb. He accelerates on the wet patch. Slides, tags the wall, gets going again. Through goes his teammate, who then touches the wall on the inside, I noticed. So watch this from aboard Keersmakers. He's just going to come around this corner to find two stationary cars. One being Peters, one being Van den Eert. And Keersmakers is going to tag the inside wall slightly. Hopefully no damage from that. Didn't look big enough for damage, but certainly needs to avoid doing that too often. Now what had happened there to Kevin Peters? Peters on the wet tyre, actually. He's just going to get onto the... Well, he's going to steer too tightly in the wet conditions and spin the car around. Dan Hurt did well to avoid it. Oh, and actually, what did he see of the Van den Eert incident? Because that he would have had a front row seat for that. Bye-bye. I shouldn't be laughing. That wasn't very funny, but Van den Eert at least kept third position, so still running on the podium. It seems that whatever way round the Raceview.nl GP cars are running, one of them, or the car ahead, then makes a mistake and they swap places. That seems to be the case over and over again, and I'm really not sure who's going to be ahead at the end of this race. Van den Eert only just behind him now, actually. It's still pretty close. Did I just see a change of position further back? I think I may have done. No, maybe not. Okay. Now, what's the gap now between Keersmakers and Van den Eert? It looks under a second. It is. These two are teammates, of course, but they have shown already in this race that they can swap positions as Van den Eert goes over the grass slightly. And Antonio Krelinovic is in the pits. So Krelinovic pits the car. Will this be for slick tyres? I'd be surprised. But he's gone a very long way on this set of tyres. Of course, he pitted earlier from the slicks onto the wets to just take a chance. And he goes on to another set of wets. And he's been lapped now by Stefan Ruhl. So Ruhl has lapped everyone but the top three. And Van den Eert and Keersmakers again are close on track. Krelinovic, interestingly, keeps the position. Oh, but runs onto the grass. Still keeps the position. Mark Fuller is the car behind. And Keersmakers and Van den Eert running wide again. I tell you what, the only person in this race who hasn't made countless mistakes is Stefan Ruhl. I've seen everyone else go off countless times. Ruhl has kept it absolutely under control so far, and I hope I'm not cursing anything. Of course, he had an off on the first lap, but after that I haven't seen anything of him. Then again, haven't really been watching him closely, but I assume by his lap times that he's been staying clean. And what was the gap there between Van den Eert and Keersmakers? Well, it came out due to Van den Eert making a couple of mistakes there. Here's Krelinovic. He's just been out of the pits, of course. Pitted for another set of wet tyres. And at this stage, I'm not surprised. Oh, and a spin. Kevin Peters again. Kevin Peters, I'm afraid, has been one of the real accident-prone drivers of this race so far. Maybe just got distracted by Janet running wide ahead of him there. Of course, Peters had real potential, put in a very quick qualifying lap and started second on the grid. Of course, would have started fourth, but started second after other drivers had issues at the start. And ran second for a little while until he made a mystery pit stop, and ever since then it's been going downhill. And is he in the pits now? Yeah, Kevin Peters pitting. So Peters already at the back of the order. Now pits again. Oh, Krelinovic moving slowly. Mark Fuller's got right up to the back of him. So maybe Krelinovic made a slight error there, and Mark Fuller is right with him now. Of Of course, I can't see the gap because they're both a lap down, but Fuller definitely appears to be closer to Kralinovic than before. And there's a front wing on the road there. Or at least I think it's a front wing. There's definitely something on the road. Now, what bit is missing? Whoa, Dan Hutt spinning again. It's a half spin onto the escape road. It's the rear right pod from Kevin Peters' car that's lying on the road there. And is that why he pitted, maybe? Is that why he made the errors? Well, there he has it. I'm trying to figure out when he lost it. Ah, right, it was on that lap. So maybe it did contribute to that spin, actually. Yeah, here we go. It's going to be contact with Jarek Janet. So he's passing Janet there. Is that the position? Yes, it is. Past Janet, then lost control of the car. Janet's going to lock up the wheel. Oh, Peters just came right back in front of him. And look who else they were in front of. Stefan Roll. That was a heart-in-mouth movement there for our race leader. He's here on board with Peters. He's just past Janet, loses control of the car. Round he goes. And he's just going to drift into Janet there. Janet unlucky, but I think he's got away with it with minimal damage. Now, why was Janet moving slowly in the first place? Well, he had a slight wiggle out of that corner there. Just struggled to get the power down. Through went Peters. Janet lifted off there, and probably for the better because Peters didn't, and Peters spun. I must say that was a bit of an unpredictable spin there. And let's see what our race leader saw of that. Oh, yeah, that was a very, very heart-in-mouth moment for our race leader, Stefan Roll. But still clean. Oh, again, Kralinovic touches the wall there. He's only just ahead of Mark Fuller, and he's touched the wall there a couple of times so far in this race. Ah, and again, big slide from Kralinovic. Will Fuller take advantage? Where's Fuller gone? I think Fuller had a spin there. Fuller absolutely would have capitalised, but indeed he did have a spin. There he goes. From 5th position. And that's possibly cost him 4th there because Kralinovic made a mistake. Fuller touches the grass there. You can't be doing that too many times. Very, very tense race. So many mistakes from quite a few people here. And again, oh, who's that going off? That's Jacob Pegg now. Jacob Pegg from 9th position spins the car. I panicked initially that it was either Keersmakers or Van der Neert going off. Very similarly liveried cars they are. The RaceView.NL cars and the satellite racing car of Jacob Pegg. But it was just Jacob Pegg going off the road there. But those cars there are close. The cars of, well, the two RaceView.NL cars there. Of Keersmakers and Van der Neert. With Keersmakers ahead of Van der Neert at the minute. But the two of them continually making mistakes. Keersmakers has a slight wiggle there. And now on the exit, can Van der Neert put the power down better? He might just have done so, actually. As we head down the back straight, will Van der Neert get a good run on his teammate Keersmakers? I doubt he'll go for it if it's half-hearted. He shouldn't do. That's it. Put on the anchors. Nicely done. Out of the final corner we go. And on to lap 24 of 27 we go now. Oh, again, Keersmakers makes a mistake at the same corner and Van der Neert goes through again. We've seen Keersmakers making mistake after mistake at that corner. But Van der Neert seems to be backing off and letting it back through. So obviously Van der Neert thinks that Keersmakers deserves the position. Although Keersmakers making quite a few mistakes here. Let's see that again. Here's what Keersmakers saw of it as he... yeah, again, it's the curb just pitching him sideways. We've seen him doing that 3 or 4 times in this race so far. Van der Neert went through. And, well, maybe it was just that he put the power down on a wet piece of track and that meant that it looked as if he was giving Keersmakers the place, but he didn't intend to. Although I think with them being teammates, he was just giving Keersmakers the place again. Well, there goes Keersmakers nonetheless back into 2nd position. Yeah, he definitely braked there. So Keersmakers being let through there by his teammate Van der Neert. Seems like those two don't want to race here today, and quite understandably so. The leaders are on lap 25 of 27 now. Here's Sander Palu. Haven't really talked about him much so far this race. He's in the Force Cyrac car, and this is his first race of the season. He hasn't driven in any of the other races so far, and it's a quite impressive opening showing here with a 6th place finish. If he holds it together from here, didn't qualify well, but in terms of the race, he's done well to hold it together. And yeah, there have been a couple of mistakes, but we've seen everyone making mistakes here today. Absolutely everyone. As Palu enters the final sector of lap 24. And is our leader on the final lap yet? He's got one more lap to go after this. Yeah. What's the gap for second like? It's still less than a second here between Keersmakers and Van der Neert. But I don't think Van der Neert will be challenging Keersmakers unless Keersmakers makes another mistake. Kralanovic just lapping Dan Hutt there. Keersmakers keeps it tidy into the hairpin. Hoekstra maybe doesn't. I saw him returning from what looked like a wide excursion there. Now, this race might actually go down to time here, so I'm going to watch Stefan roll because this might be the final lap of the race. We might reach our 40-minute time limit before we reach the lap limit. In which case, this would be the final lap. It's going to be a close one, as down the final straight goes Stefan Rohr, or the back straight. Will he win the race this time round, or will he not? He has over a minute's advantage to the car behind. This has been the most brilliant drive I've ever seen from a driver. He's definitely worthy of his World Championship status here. Stefan Rohr. Yeah, indeed, this is the final lap and the final corner. Stefan Rohr brings home the best drive I've ever seen in the world, in the WCS League. Stefan Rohr wins the race in brilliant style. Fantastic race win. Unbelievable. Now, who's going to be second? It's either going to be Keersmakers or Van der Neert here. They're the only other drivers on the lead lap of this race. The Raceview.nl GP cars. Van der Neert seems to be pushing here. Actually, he got very close to the back end of Danny Van der Neert of Laurent Keersmakers there. Actually, surely no chance into Lapingle. Keersmakers needs to keep it together here. He does, or does he? Van der Neert quicker in the mid corner. Keersmakers gets a worse exit. Van der Neert's right with him as they head down the back straight. Now, is he going to go for it or will he not? I don't know if he will. We'll see. Of course, these two now battling for second in the championship, but are they battling? Well, Danny Van der Neert seems to not be close enough, and Keersmakers gets it out to the final corner. Laurent Keersmakers down the final straight claims second position just from Danny Van der Neert. I must say, a clumsy race from both of them, but then again, who wasn't clumsy in that race apart from Stefan Rohr? Still some drivers finished. An impressive slide there after the finish line from Keurig de Vries. Shows just how slippery it is. There's Jacob Pegg and there's Rian Hoekstra, last across the line, but not last in the order. So, running down the order, it was an amazing race from Stefan Rohr, who just doesn't want to return to the pits. He's going for another lap here. I reckon he didn't know the race was over. I reckon he thought that because there were 27 laps, he didn't think the race was over there. Surely he got the checkered flag, but whatever the case, Stefan Rohr has won the race. What was the final winning margin? 1 minute and 9 seconds, .257. Unbelievable race. Then it was Laurent Keersmakers, Danny Van der Neert, Mark Fuller, Antonio Kralanovic, Sander Palu, Keurig de Vries, Jacob Pegg, Rian Hoekstra, Dan Hutt, Jarek Janik, Kevin Peters, and then our singular retirement, Fabian Ruder. Well, the race being ended 1 lap early in the circuit to Gilles Villeneuve. Why does that ring a bell? But whatever the case, Stefan Rohr has won the race in absolutely fantastic fashion by over a minute. Unbelievable. Oh, I think you just heard that actually, but whatever the case, we're going for a quick break now before the start of race 2. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a reverse grid. The top 10 will be reversed for the reverse grid, meaning Dan Hutt will be starting at the front of the order, followed by Ryan Hoekstra, Jacob Pegg, Gerrit de Vries, Sander Palu, Antonio Frelinovic, Mark Fuller, Danny van der Nit, Laurent Giersmakers, and Stefan Rolt, followed by Jarek Janet, Kevin Peters, and Fabian Ruder for our race 2. So don't go anywhere for that. It's going to be just as interesting as the first race, maybe better. We'll have to see. But Rolt's going to have a lot of work to do if he's going to win race 2 as well. Attention customers. We are currently undergoing some minor technical difficulties, but we will return to your scheduled broadcast very, very shortly. Beep! Welcome back, everyone, to the WCSLeague GP series from the circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. We're just setting up for the start of race 2 here at Montreal, with Dan Hurt on pole here. The track seems dry enough for the slick tyres. Well, it doesn't, but it certainly... Well, the drivers certainly don't want to go onto the wets here. Obviously, still some real trust issues going on with the drivers and the wet tyres, and maybe for a reason. I haven't actually driven this car in the wet, so I wouldn't know. Dan Hurt on pole, followed by Menno Klont Wopke Hoekstra at the start here. Of course, this because of the reverse grid. Then Jacob Pegg, Gerrit de Vries, Sander Palou, Antonio Krajinovic, Mark Fuller, Danny van der Neert, Laurent Keersmakers, and race 1 winner in dominant fashion, Stefan Rol. I'm still amazed he won this race by over a minute. Utterly fantastic drive, and he will be starting on the intermediate tyre, so obviously can make that work. And I know that you can now hear myself twice. Okay, that was my fault, and I've just sorted that out. But whatever. Stefan Rol, yeah, I mean, apologies for that. Stefan Rol starting from 10th on the grid here. He will be followed by Jarek Janet, Kevin Peters, and Wopke Hoekstra. Wopke Hoekstra, wow. So we've seen Menno Klont Wopke, but Wopke Hoekstra is in now. Now, is that in place of Menno Klont Wopke? No, Hoekstra is here. It's Fabian Ruder who is missing. So Fabian Ruder has continued his... actually, let me just double check this. No, I was about to say something that wasn't true, so never mind. That would have been rude of me to say. But Wopke Hoekstra, good to see Wopke back in this series, because Wopke, of course, was a race winner earlier on this series, winning at Istanbul after missing the round at Bahrain, and then also the first race at Suzuka as well. He was back for Istanbul, but he hasn't been seen since then. He missed Monza, the Nürburgring, Zandvoort, Barcelona, and Spa, and now at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, he's back, but he's at the back and probably hasn't done any practice. So we'll have to see how he does here, hoping to end the season on a high. But it's going to be Dan Hurt, the young early teenager, starting from pole position here, ahead of Menno Klont Wopke, who is actually the oldest driver on the grid, as far as I know. So we've got the youngest and the oldest at the front, and it's actually starting to rain now. So it's starting to rain again. Now, will it become too wet for the drivers to handle? We're about to find out. They're pulling into position on the starting grid. They're in formation. It's going to be Dan Hurt at the front. The last driver we're waiting for is going to be Wopke Hoekstra, who pulls in at the rear. There are going to be 13 drivers in this race. Here we go. Hoekstra just getting into position now in his grid box. Oh, his tyres suddenly changed to intermediates. Oh, everyone's tyres are intermediates. Okay, well, whatever. As we get going. Maybe it was just a glitch, but whatever. And go! Away we go at the start of the race. And it's Dan Hurt who gets the better start there, gets the lead as we head down towards turn 1. Dan Hurt leads the race ahead of Menno Klont Wopke there. And that's a much cleaner start than I saw last time. De Vries on the inside. No one spins. Rol gets slightly over the grass there, but everyone clean. That's good to see. And through we go. Still Dan Hurt leading the race. Oh, Menno Klont Wopke is going off, as is Gerrit de Vries. So Hoekstra and de Vries go up from 2nd and 3rd positions there, and they drop to the back of the order here. We saw something like that coming. De Vries is going to be a long way behind after that. Oh, slight twitch there from Dan Hurt, and it's Krajinovic up into 2nd now. Antonio Krajinovic up into 2nd position already, as we head into the 3rd of the 4 chicanes on this track. 4 proper chicanes anyway. And it's Hurt from Krajinovic, Fuller, Pegg, van der Neert, Keersmakers, Hoekstra. Oh, Wopke Hoekstra actually already going for 5th position here, or 6th rather, on Keersmakers. Keersmakers on the inside. They're going 3 wide. That's not going to work. Peters runs into him. Peters spins. I expected that. I saw that coming. Of course, you couldn't go 3 wide into Lepingle in the wet. And he's now down into 9th position, about to get passed by Menno Klont Wopke for that 9th position. Actually, I don't know if Hoekstra will get him here. They might actually go 3 wide down the back straight here, but whatever the case, yeah, they are going 3 wide. Are they? We've got Janet on the inside. Hoekstra's had a bit of a twitch. Straight on. Oh, van der Neert spun. and it spins in the chicane. Gets the car going again on and hits Character Freeze. Or gets hit by Character Freeze. I didn't quite see that from the best angle. Into the pits comes Sander Palu. So some accidents and incidents on the first lap. Oh, and the lead's changed. What's happened there? So Kralinovic leads the race now. I need to go back and look at that. Oh, that's not working. Okay, so Dan Hurt. Oh, he had a spin at turn 1. So Dan Hurt was leading this race. He spun it round at turn 1. There he goes. There he went. Into a spin. Here's what he saw of it. Now, he really doesn't like that turn 1. We've seen him making many mistakes at turn 1 in race 1. Now, here's Kralinovic, who would have seen that ahead of him and just said, thank you very much. Through he goes into the lead of the race. Through goes Mark Fuller into second. And Jacob Pegg as well. Got through into third place in the process there. So it's Kralinovic, Fuller, Pegg, Hoekstra. That's Wopke Hoekstra. Dan Hurt going a long way there. You can see the tyre marks from where he's been off. Let's see that. Oh, he was actually alongside Keersmakers and just got on the wet patch. Car swapped ends, round he went. Keersmakers cleanly through there, and Stefan Rohr went through at the same time. This is a 20-minute race, incidentally, rather than the 40-minute we had in race 1. Peters side by side with Hutt. Kevin Peter. Oh, contact! Hutt just locked up under braking. Went sideways, and in the background, oh dear, Hoekstra and Janet going into them as Hutt retires from this race. Let's have a look at that. So up ahead of them, we saw Hutt just, just losing it under brakes, hitting Kevin Peters, and then looks like he gave up at that point. Kevin Peters, clonk there, you felt the clobber. And behind them as well, Hoekstra and Janet had an incident. I believe Janet just ran into Hoekstra there. It looks like he did, yeah. So, Jarek Janet running into the back of Rian Hoekstra, just leaving his braking too late. Hoekstra will not be happy at that. And he might report Janet for it after the race. We'll have to see. And Janet's also out. So, out of the race. Oh, off from the lead went Kralinovic there. He ran over. My word, he's been bucked up in the air. Kralinovic bouncing over the sausage curb. Still leading this race, incidentally, from Mark Fuller. But making an error there. There's actually Wopke Hoekstra up into third place. We know that Hoekstra is good in the rain. But he's up into third place despite very minimal practice out of Pegg, Rohr and Keersmakers. Remember, Hoekstra started from the back of the grid. So in 2.5 laps, he's already gained 10 positions. What an amazing start from Wopke Hoekstra. He's got Fuller and Kralinovic ahead of him. As in the background, Rohr is going for Pegg. Our race 1 winner on the inside. And the drivers, despite not pitting, are now miraculously back on slick tyres as Rohr has bounced over the curbs. He's going to have to give the place back to Pegg, which he does do now. And through as well goes Lauren Keersmakers. So Keersmakers goes through. Oh, contact, they're jostling, and Pegg's going wide. Keersmakers is going to get both of them. Rohr slides sideways, and a good bit of opportunistic driving from Lauren Keersmakers to make both of those positions up. Now, when will Hoekstra challenge Fuller for second position? Surely not long. I want to have a look back at what actually happened into turn 1 there. I think there was a bit of contact, actually. Well, looks pretty clean from Keersmakers, but between Pegg and Rohr, indeed, there was contact there. There it was from on board Rohr. Unfortunately, Rohr's fault there as he just missed his braking slightly, went into the back of Pegg. Maybe caught out by Pegg being cautious into the corner, but then again, he would be in conditions like this. But anyway, Rohr alongside him again for 5th. For 5th. Doesn't get it though. Pegg keeps the place. Hoekstra still just behind Fuller. They're actually catching Kralinovic here. In fact, Fuller looks like he's about to attack Kralinovic. He got a bad exit to that corner. Mark Fuller on the outside, about to take the lead. Maybe there's contact. What was Fuller doing there? Pulling over on the straight there. Now, as we head into the final chicane, somehow they're still all the right way round. But that was extremely close there. Whew, wow. Now, down towards turn 1. What's happened to Rohr? Rohr's dropped back. No, he hasn't. He's got past Pegg. Pegg made a mistake into the final chicane there. No, before more kicks off, I want to have a look at what actually happened on that straight that time between Fuller and Kralinovic. Watch this. Fuller just sort of pulls over to Kralinovic, makes contact. Oh, my word, that was close. And somehow Kralinovic keeps the lead. Fuller still ahead of Hoekstra. Then it's Keersmaker's Roll, Peg, Hoekstra. That's Rink Hoekstra. Van der Nit, De Vries, Palu. Peters is out. So we've lost Kevin Peters. Now, how did that happen? I didn't actually see it happening. I knew that we'd lost Janet and Hurt, but I didn't see Peters going out. So Peters, our third retirement from this race. We've had more in this race than we did in race 1. It looks to me like people are just giving up at this point, and I think that's a bad idea, seeing as you will score points if you finish. But Peters just losing control of the car there. Maybe lost the engine. Yeah. And out of the race. So Kevin Peters out. We've got 10 drivers. Oh, contact. Keersmakers and Roll. So Keersmakers and Roll, 1-2 in the championship, have collided. Now that's drastic because Keersmakers was still fighting for second in the championship. Let's see what happened. He's got on the white line. He's crossed it up. And he spins into the corner. Now surely Roll had time to react to this. Did Keersmakers do an unsafe rejoin? Did he? Yes. No. Yes. Oh, wow. Judge that how you want to. But that was clumsy from whoever involved, as Peg runs over the debris. I'm not actually sure whether that was an unsafe rejoin or not. I want to see it on board with both cars. So Keersmakers touches the white line, spins it around, locks it up, spins it around, and now gets it going again. Now here comes Ruel. He definitely left space. Look, he's not driving in an unnecessary line there. I reckon Ruel's just driven into him. Let's see this. Now Ruel should have been adhering to the yellow flags there. So there's Keersmakers. Right, keep to the inside. Keep to the inside. Yellows. Ooh. Actually, I think that's just a racing incident. Now, I very rarely say anything to do with a rejoin is a racing incident. But in this case, I reckon that Ruel was just turning as tightly as he could. Hold on. As Hoekstra spins. Now, actually, Kralinovic had lost the lead there. So Hoekstra had got up into second. Fuller had got up into the lead. And they're still in that position, actually, because Kralinovic had to back off to let Hoekstra through. But I reckon Kralinovic had a spin there because he's dropped a long way behind these two. So the lead of the race has changed there. It's Mark Fuller leading it. Now that would be a great result for Mark Fuller before. He's never had a win before. Now what has happened here? This happened quite a while ago, actually. It happened last lap. Looks like I've missed out on a lot. Yeah, it looks as if Kralinovic got off the line there. Got a little bit crossed up and just lost both positions. Whoa, so close to getting taken out by Mark Fuller there, or to taking out Mark Fuller. Depends on how you look at it. But look at it. He's off the he's on the wet patch. He's putting the power down too quickly. He's losing all of that. Now watch this from on board Mark Fuller. How didn't he get taken out here? Actually, it was a lot more sane than I thought at first, but certainly a scary situation. Here's Hoekstra's view. Oh, that was scary. And then I noticed that Kralinovic cut straight across turn 2. Let's see how that happened. So Kralinovic, he's going to miss turn 2 and cut straight across it. Now I don't think he's going to gain time from that, but still, need to stop making errors like that. Mark Fuller still leading this race. This would be a brilliant result from Mark Fuller. Very well deserved from what I've seen so far. As we've lost Gerrit de Vries. So one of the Holland racing cars is out. And that's drastic, seeing as Holland Racing is still challenging for the Constructors' Championship. It was a spin from Gerrit de Vries, and he might have just lost the engine there. He might have just given up. But there was the spin from Gerrit de Vries. Yeah, round he went. Maybe he just didn't reach the clutch in time. So Gerrit de Vries out of this race. Oh, as Van der Nit goes for another slide. And Fuller still leading this race. Now, what was Fuller's best result so far this season? Certainly wasn't this. I believe it was a 6th place. It was. There were 2 6th places he's got. One in race 2 at Zandvoort. And, no, I'm looking at Dan Hutt's results. Mark Fuller, he got a 4th place last time out. So he got a 4th place at race 2 in Spa. I reckon Fuller's really got the hang of this car now. Because with results, his best result so far coming last time out, he's now leading this race. He's got the hang of this wet condition. He's actually holding off Wopke Hoekstra, who's a great driver in the rain. Now, I think Stefan Ruhl has slight damage here on the back of that car. No, I don't think he does, actually. Ruhl struggling a bit to get through the traffic. He had an incident with Lauren Keersmakers. Keersmakers was keeping a normal line when he rejoined the track. He wasn't exactly pulling across or anything. I reckon it was just a racing incident, but a pretty weird one. So Mark Fuller leads this race down the back straight. We're on lap 8 out of 14 at the minute. So about 62% of the way, that'll be through the timer rather than through the laps. Through the final chicane we go on this lap. Hoekstra seems to be sticking to the back of him, but not finding a chance to actually get through yet. Oh, wow! Into the wall in the background goes Kralinovic, rather. Big swap. He doesn't appear to have any damage, but let's have a look at that. He's just going to put down the power too hard. That's what we've seen from Kralinovic. Yeah, there we go. Put the power down initially, then got off the line, put the power down again, and aquaplaned. We've seen that happening from Kralinovic a few times so far this race, actually. Certainly seems to be his weakness. Whoa, we're going side by side for the lead. What a move! What a move from Wopke Hoekstra to take the lead of this race. Touching the wall, touching Fuller. Brilliant move. How did he manage that? I've got no idea, but let's have a look back at it. Oh my word, Wopke Hoekstra. Well, Fuller made a mistake there. Ran wide, ran over the grass, and Hoekstra squeezed up against him in the wall. That was so close to being an accident. But Wopke Hoekstra goes through to the lead of this race. Let's see that. So Fuller just leaves his braking later. Now what's this from Hoekstra? That is so daring. So daring you can barely imagine. And that would have been a real heart-in-mouth moment from Wopke Hoekstra. Also for Mark Fuller, who would have seen that and thought that, his race was going up in smoke, and it very nearly did that. He's still in contention for a really good result. Possibly a win if something happens to Hoekstra. Fingers crossed it doesn't. But Hoekstra leading the race now from Mark Fuller, from Antonio Kralinovic. Then it's Ruhl, Keersmakers, Peg, Van der Neert, Hoekstra. That's Rienk Hoekstra. And then Palu, with 4 DNFs behind them. Now, what was the gap for the lead? It was pulled out to 2.5 seconds with Fuller's bad exit to that corner. Still close for 6th between Peg and Van der Neert. So Van der Neert catching Peg here for 6th position as we head down the back straight. Into the final chicane they go. Also in the background, it seems like they're close between Rienk Hoekstra and Sander Palu for 8th position. So 6th is under pressure, as is 8th. Of course, the battle for 8th is the battle to not be last in this race. It's always better to say I was 8th out of 9 than I was 9 out of 9. Even if 13 people technically started, you never want to be the last runner. Then again, you don't want to DNF even more. Slight twitch from Peg as he stays ahead of Van der Neert. It's close. But a slight twitch from Peg, and Van der Neert follows him through the spray. So through the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve we go. We're heading towards the Pingle hairpin. The straight, incidentally, is called the Virage du Casino. Oh, Van der Neert spun. Now, I was looking away at the time, but Van der Neert's had a spin there. Let's have a look back at that. Yeah, he's just sort of, well, he locked up his front right, and then you've gone wide. The car's rear end is coming round. There's no stopping it. It was kind of a half spin, really, but he's lost a lot of time there to Jacob Peg. Also in the background, Sander Palu looks like he's dropped back a lot. Oh, as Van der Neert pits. So Van der Neert maybe feels like he's used up too much of his tyres, or maybe feels like he can't continue on the slick tyres. Is he going onto the wet tyres? Does he think the weather's been coming down more? He's got nothing to lose, really, so I'd probably go onto the wet tyres here if I was him. But he doesn't. He goes for another set of slicks. So Van der Neert coming out of the pits in 9th position now at the very back of the order. It's a big shame for him. He's challenging for 2nd in the championship, and Gearsmakers looked as if he was losing that position when he made contact with Royal. But as Kralinovic runs wide, but still has a real chance of it here. Let's have a look back at what happened to Kralinovic. It's been a pretty tough time for Kralinovic here. He's had the pace to win the race, but he's just made all sorts of errors. But you could say that about anyone in any of these races. Again, I think this race is going to come down to time rather than laps, but we'll have to see. Just having a look at the order. It's Wopke Hoekstra leading this race. What an amazing result this would be if he could win his first race back after such a long break from this car, with what I assume was very minimal practice. And from the back of the grid as well, you have to remember everything about this drive from Hoekstra has been impressive, and what a move it was to take the lead as well. Means he would have won his last 2 races in this series. To be honest, if he'd done the full series, then he would absolutely have been a championship contender, no doubt about it. I think this drive today is absolutely proving that. To be honest, it's a bit embarrassing for the other drivers, really, to see someone come back from such a break and win despite not having much practice at all. There's Mark Fuller running in 2nd place, doing a great job there. This is going to be his best result so far if he finishes like that, his first podium of the season. He got close last time out with a 4th place finish, but this would be his first actual podium. And don't discount him for the win yet. Through the final chicane he goes there. And across the start-finish line to start lap 13. This will be the penultimate lap or the final lap. It all depends on whether the timer ticks down before the end of this lap. Here's Antonio Kralinovic running in 3rd position. Just checking the gaps again. All seems like it's pretty stagnant at the minute. Kralinovic taking got slightly on the wet patch through turn 2 there. Not the quickest way through the corner. But Kralinovic still running in 3rd position here. Of course, he led the race earlier on, then made a mistake, and through went both Fuller and Hoekstra, and he just hasn't been able to stick with them, really, in these wet conditions. And now I'm going to switch to the front of the order because this will be the final lap of the race. So, Wopke Hoekstra is about to enter the final sector here. The timer has ticked to 100%. Here's the Lepingle hairpin again as we head towards the Virage de Casino. Down the long straight for one last time. This will feel like an age for Hoekstra, but he'll be savouring every second of it. Wopke Hoekstra coming from the back of the grid after about 6 rounds off. That's about 12 weeks he's been away from this car with minimal practice in the wet. He had everything against him in this race, but made an amazing move around the outside of Mark Fuller to win the race. Utterly incredible. Wopke Hoekstra wins race 2 from the back of the grid. Mark Fuller claims his first podium in 2nd position. Antonio Kralinovic is going to come through in 3rd place. He'll be slightly disappointed with that, but he's ahead of his rivals. 4th place is going to be our race 1 winner, Stefan Ruhl. Where was he in this 2nd race? I've got no idea. Maybe he was slightly damaged from the contact with Laurent Gearsmakers. Whatever the case, Stefan Ruhl crossing the line in 4th position. Laurent Gearsmakers himself is going to cross the line in 5th. 6th is going to be Jacob Pegg here. Oh my word, what a race that was. Unpredictability the entire way through, just like in race 1. And two drivers up the front of the order, absolutely not who I expected, but great to see that it's not predictable. Rian Hoekstra is going to hold on to 7th place ahead of Sander Palu. There we go. And then a mystery pit stop cost Danny van der Neer. Maybe he had damage. Maybe he just thought he needed a new set of tyres. Whatever the case, van der Neer is going to finish at the back of the order. And that's going to really hurt the driver challenging for second in this championship. That's pretty much his chances gone there as he crosses the line in 9th position. Then we had DNFs in Kjerk de Vries, Kevin Peters, Jarek Janik and Dan Hurt. Now we're going to get some TeamSpeak interviews up and running very, very shortly. But what a group of races we saw today.
Connected. Channel switched.
So after 2 unbelievable races, we're just waiting for some interviews to start taking place. Tell you what, all of those, or both of those wins, very well deserved. Royal in race 1 completely ran away with it. He was the only driver not making errors and just sort of kept going and kept going and kept going and eventually delivered the win by over a minute. Unbelievable result. Then Wopke Hoekstra in race 2 coming in from the back of the grid, coming through the field, making up 10 places in the first lap and then winning the race in fantastic style. Unbelievable job.
User was moved to your channel.
In fact, let's talk to our race winners, starting with Stefan Rohr, our race 1 winner and champion, I should point out. So, Stefan, I take it, actually, before we start anything, from what people have been saying, no one realised you'd already won the championship, but I did the maths before the race. There are 43 points on offer, and to keep the championship alive, the driver behind you needed to make up 44 points. So, that means that, unless there was a miscalculation of some kind, you'd already won the championship. Were you aware of that?
No, actually, not just since you pointed it out, so. But that's cool.
Okay.
I thought I was champion after the race.
Yes, well, you've been champion for 2 weeks and you didn't even realise it. But whatever the case, well done for that. So, Stefan, you've won it and you've added another race win to your tally today. Your 7th victory of the season and probably your best one yet as well. Your most dominant, winning by over a minute. Well, despite a slight mistake on the first lap, it looked absolutely dominant and absolutely under control there. I mean, how did you do it?
Yeah, thanks. I don't know. I was talking to the guys after the race, Laurent and Danny, on Discord, and I was asking them, did you feel like you were racing, or did you feel like you were just nursing the car? And they agreed that they felt like they were just trying to nurse the car, across the track and getting it home. So that's basically what I was doing. But somehow I did it, 1 minute ahead of the guys. I don't know what happened there, but it was a great feeling. And when I crossed the finish line, and by then I thought I won the championship. So I was really happy with that realization. But yeah, great race.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And absolutely one of the best drives, one of the most controlled drives I have ever seen. Maybe even the best that I've ever seen in R-Factor 2. I'm just in awe of what you've just done. Yeah, Stefan, just how hard is it to actually drive one of these cars in the wet? Because everyone else seemed to be having many more problems than you were there. Just how do you drive one of these cars in the wet?
It's already tricky when it's dry, so put on top of that, put some rain on the track, it gets slippery, and then on top of that, the rain tire and the dry tire didn't feel too different when it was raining, so it was really tough to make a choice. And once the tires start to wear, then it gets even more slippery. So it's just trying to control the car with the throttle and really making sure you don't get on the wet part, because that's when you lose the car. Yeah, mostly. It's really tricky.
Yeah, certainly looks like it. Race 2, though, you didn't exactly come through the field as quickly as I was expecting. There was there some sort of damage that occurred from the incident with Laurent, or was it just that you couldn't find a way through the field?
So on the first lap or the second lap, I think Laurent made a mistake, and the only way for me to go was on his outside, but it was the wet part of the track. It wasn't the dry line, and then Wopke could overtake me on the right, and I think Jacob as well, and then trying to overtake someone is really tough because the dry part of the track and the wet part of the track is really different grip wise. So I had difficulties overtaking people, but all in all the pace was okay, so I started to try and overtake Laurent again, but he made a mistake. He came back to the track, he didn't see me, and then the cars interlocked and we couldn't get away, and basically damaged both of our cars pretty heavily. And after that, it was even more difficult to drive. So I did my best, tried to catch the top 3, but by then they were like 15 seconds up the road, so I was never going to catch them. Yeah, that's basically what happened. And I think Wopke, that guy, just joined for the second race, and I know he's amazing in the rain, always has been, and he just took the win. So congrats to him.
So thanks for speaking to us there, Stefan. Amazing win in race 1. And a good result in race 2 as well, even though it wasn't the podium you were hoping for. Now, Wopke. So we have Wopke Hoekstra here as well, our race 2 winner. Hello.
Hello.
So, Wopke, you only joined for race 2. Before we start, how much practice have you actually had at this circuit?
In this car, probably, I think I did 2 laps in the warm-up, maybe.
Goodness gracious. Well, and that was it. So Have you actually driven this car at all since you won that race at Istanbul?
Yeah, because I joined for last race as well, the second race only at Spa, so I did 1 race there, but other than that, I don't think I drove the car too much. I don't think I did any laps in them. So, these were my first laps since Spa, and then before that, I think it's way back in Istanbul.
Now, that's the third time this season, actually, that you've only joined for race 2. Is there a particular reason for that, or?
Well, to be fair, I don't really enjoy the cars too much, but when I'm not busy, then I'm like, oh, why not? I'll just join for fun, and then I don't have...
Well, certainly went well today, didn't it?
I can really put a lot of pressure. Yeah, definitely. Sorry. Definitely did, and amazing. I totally didn't think I was gonna win because the conditions in warm up, like I said, I did 2 laps. I was having some steering wheel issues, and I fixed them, but then it was raining and it was wet, and like Stefan said, it's really difficult to drive in these conditions, and I was flying off the track everywhere. So my approach for the race was just to take it easy and see if other guys make mistakes, and I think all of them did, so that's why I passed them. I don't think I made like 1 normal overtake. I think I overtook most people because they made an error somewhere, and I had 1 small mistake myself in the hairpin, and then I lost a bit of time to Mark Fuller, who was leading. But when I caught back up to him, he made a mistake as well, and I was able to grab the opportunity to overtake him. was a bit risky, but I really had to try it because I knew that could possibly be my only chance to win the race.
By a bit risky, do you realise you actually touched the wall and him at the same time there? That was one of the closest overtakes I've ever seen. I almost held my breath there. I mean, surely that makes your heart rate run as a driver.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I knew it was close, but not that close. So, yeah, I just knew as long as I get into that gap there, there's no way he can come more to the outside than I can because I'm already there, so he can't go into me. So yeah, I just forced him to stay a little bit on the inside, and then also on the wet part for that small kink, and then that's where he really lost the position. So yeah, I guess it worked out kind of well. But yeah, it was definitely a bit risky, to say the least.
But anyway, fantastic race to win the race from the back of the grid there, and good to speak to you after the race as well.
Yes, thank you, and also congratulations to Stefan on winning the race and also on winning the championship, because he's now actually following me up as the champion.
Just had to remind everyone of that, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm the double champion, guys. Come on. No, just kidding. But yeah, he's a worthy champion. He's really great. And if you look at his performance throughout the season, it's amazing what he has done in this car. So massive congratulations to him.
So after speaking to our 2 race winners and also our 2 most recent champions there, our 2 most recent single-seater champions, that will be the end of the broadcast today. So I thank you all for tuning in and for racing, and what a fantastic performance we were given by our 2 winners today. A bit of carnage down behind. It was unpredictable all the way through, and there were quite a few accidents. But I tell you what, let's face it, it was never dull. So at the end of that race, we have a new champion crowned, even though he technically had already won it, and two dominant race winners as well, and 2 fantastic races to talk about. So that's that for today, and we will see you for the championship finale, which will be at the Red Bull Ring in 2 weeks' time. See you then.